Hello knitting friends, welcome to episode 52 of Last Stitch Effort. My name is Pacasha and this is my knitting podcast about using up my stash. You're not going to find yarn hauls here. I did get some yarn, but I'm not going to talk too much about it. But primarily my focus is using up my stash in a sustainable and very satisfying way. Every inch. And not a lot of super scrappy projects. I try to put a lot of intention behind the things that I do. Anyway, welcome. I just want to start by acknowledging the passing of our amazingly creative and talented friend Dan Jones from the Bakery Bears. If you're not a patron, I would recommend maybe signing up. I know Kay and the family could probably use our support at this time. They certainly weren't the first knitting podcast, but they really paved the way and gave us hours upon hours of amazing entertainment, and it's truly going to be a loss not having Dan with us anymore. So so I may link below. I don't usually link things. Usually I just put information down there so you can decide what you want to do. Not through Ravelry, not through anything. I'm not making a penny off of any of this, so and I never probably will, so whatever. Anyway, I just wanted to start off by saying that because it really hurt this week. I've been watching them for so long, so anyway, that said, so I was able to whittle down my stash quite a bit over the last 2 months. Did I say? I'm sorry, it's been 2 months. There's been holidays, there's been storms, there's been power loss, multiple day power loss, loss of internet for a few weeks. We all got sick. We all, it's just been, I don't know, other things have been going on. So this hasn't really been, I haven't been able to record. So that's where I was. Not that it matters. So I was able to clean out some yarn. It was all good stuff that I really loved. And once upon a time, as with every single skein back here, I had a project for it or an idea or, something that was inspiring me to bring it home, but then it just sat there for years. So I passed some of that on. And right now I am sitting at 45,523 grams of yarn, which is about, let's see, I have 280 listings in Ravelry, and it looks like I have 910 balls of yarn. So for a while I was sitting well over 1,000, so now I'm feeling like I'm in a much better situation. I use up about over 6,000 grams of yarn every year. According to the math, that still leaves me in the high 7 years plus, a significant amount of months, but we're getting there. And I don't want to get to 0, but I would like to get it down to about 2 years worth. So, and I would like all of my fiber to fit in this cabinet as well, because right now it's all yarn. There's 4 big deep shelves, and there's some cupboard space below too, packed full of yarn, no fiber. But I would like all of my fiber to fit in here, and I would like all of my tools to fit in here as well, and possibly knitting bags too. That might be a stretch. I feel like I have a lot of crazy ideas of what I want for my life, but I am whittling things down to the most necessary. No, but less. I just want less. I am very, oh dear, I zipped up my yarn in the zipper. I'm enjoying being an anti-consumerist, and I would like more of that in my life, please. I think I'm going to have to cut this yarn. I think it's really stuck in the zipper. Okay, so And I don't even need to be opening this right now because I want to show you, there we go. I want to show you FOs first, right? That's how we start off. All of my information will be down below too. Once again, no links in case you don't want to go to Ravelry for whatever reason. Yeah. And also, I'm just going to make it be known, I don't talk about politics here, not because I don't care and not because they're not important. I do have situations in my life where it's wiser for me to be quiet. However, I'm just not happy. We'll just put it that way. I am horrified at things that are happening in this country and horrified at things that are happening all around the world right now. So I will leave it as vague as I can for very important reasons. But just so you know, I can't like not acknowledge that this is pretty messed up. Anyway, I know a lot of people find that important to know like people's stance, and if you need further information from me, I can give it to you, but I'm not saying anything else. But I'm probably on your side if you are a very creative, free-loving, accepting, and science-based person. And you don't like children or women to be hurt. Okay. I'm your girl. Love you. Let's do FOs. So first things first, let's just get some socks out of the way because they're little and kind of annoying. I finished 2 pairs of socks. The first pair is the Passerine, I think that's how you say it, by Cookie A. The pattern usually goes down onto the foot too, but I like the fit. I don't like a lot of texture or thickness on the top of my foot. Since I broke I've broken both of my legs, but you know, wearing a boot and like my ankle was pretty jacked up the last time I broke it a couple years ago. So I'm like, it seems like I'm more and more sensitive as I get older about bulk in that area, and I have small feet. No kitty, no kitty. Just stay there. Shh. Yeah, so I leave the pattern off of the foot usually. I try to keep that as plain and as thin and whatever as possible. So this pattern is from a book called Sockupied. There goes the book. Not this book though. I think Ann Bud. Oh jeez. That's my cat, sorry. Oh no, it's Ann Merrow. But there's probably an Ann Bud, whatchamacallit, pattern in here. My cat is being crazy. So it's from this book. This is a fairly new book to me. It's an old book. It was published a long time ago, but Thrift Books has been my friend. All the books that I wanted to buy when I couldn't afford to buy them, I get them on Thrift Books now. And now I have way too many knitting books. So I just went from buying yarn to buying knitting books, which is kind of the story of my life. I'm not a good anti-consumerist at all. Anyway, that's where this pattern is from. The yarn is Knit Pick Stroll in the colorway Cider, which is just fabulous. And then the second pair is just like a scrappy pair I made. This is yarn that I dyed myself when I used to have a shop on Etsy. And then I used like little minis and leftovers from other projects. This is the Cider color, and it matches almost perfectly with the yarn that I dyed, which I dyed it like 10 years ago or something, maybe even more than that. Yeah, I think this is Ficolana Arvetta. I'm not sure. Yeah, lots of different, I think that's Dill Heather, which is Stroll. Yeah. So I made these 2 pairs. And now the second one of this one, I ran out. And so I added a little bit of the Cider because it matched so well. But I really love doing that because I like using up every little bit. So this scratched that itch in many ways, because you can hardly tell, like, at all. Makes me so happy. So 2 pairs of socks there. Where can I put them? Okay, I also finished a Felix cardigan by Amy Christoffers. Now I haven't done the buttons yet because I'm thinking about making them in pottery class, which is something that my husband and I started doing. I'm not very good at it, but we're enjoying it still. So this is Amy Christoffers Felix cardigan, which I've made a few times, and they're still like really long blonde hair. I just cut like 2 feet off of my hair today, so there's not going to be super long blonde hair on everything forever anymore. Like, but since this just happened today, like there's still long blonde hair on everything. Sorry. Anyway, so this is a cardigan. Typically I make a larger one and then I get really mad because it's too saggy baggy and I wanted it more fitted. This one is slightly more fitted, so hopefully I'll be happy. And I did a cropped, well, a little more cropped body than what was called for because I do like to wear it with dresses. I do wear a lot of dresses. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't remember what size needle, probably like 10 or 10 and a half. I'm not sure. It calls for a huge needle. No, I think I use like 9s actually. I'm a really loose knitter, so I usually go down in size. And I think maybe in the past I've made it with a size 10 and then decided to go down a needle. I don't remember. It's on my Ravelry project page, so if you need that information, but I can't imagine why you would need that information. It's not that interesting. Okay, and I think this was the next thing I finished. These are certainly not in order, but I'm just trying to be somewhat organized. Yeah, so I'll put buttons on that when I'm able. I live in kind of a button desert. There's not a lot of buttons around here. So I guess I'll make them. So the next thing I worked on was this test knit by Gudrun Johnston. This is her Heritage Yoke cardigan, which is based on the Heritage Yoke pullover, I guess, sweater, from her Grand Shetland Adventures book that she did with Mary Jane Mucklestone. And this is the cardigan version. So it includes a steek down the front. It has a fairly deep yoke, but once I got my gauge sorted, it fit like a dream. I did have to essentially knit this twice because my gauge was significantly off, and it was really important to get that measurement. And unfortunately, the only way I could get the row gauge to work for me was to go down to a size 0. So that's a 2 millimeter needle, and I believe she called for a size 4. Yeah, so I'm like a crazy loose knitter. And I don't think she's a particularly tight knitter, but apparently she is a lot tighter than me. Yeah, so, oh, my earring's coming up. Yeah, so it was a lovely pattern, and I really want to make another one. This one, it took quite a bit of time. Once again, I had to kind of knit it twice to make sure, because this just kept growing and growing, even though I did a swatch. The weight of it, and me having to do such a large bust size to accommodate my bust and my upper arm, there was a lot of weight on pulling that swatch down, more so than, so yeah. So just make sure your gauge is good, and if not, like, you can still like stop your yoke like anywhere. If it's too long, like, you don't have to redo the whole thing. You can come up and start your arms, further up. That's not a problem at all. Gudrun is she makes her patterns really easy to adapt. I'm sure it's intentional. I mean, the girl, she's super smart about things, but she also just, I don't know, like, it's simple and yet elegant in a way that is kind of freeing. Like, you can pretty much do what you need to do. And I'll talk more about that with the next pattern that I talk about. But yeah, I mean, the numbers worked out to do whatever adjustments I needed to do. These little Peries are, yeah, I don't know. It just, she has so many sizes available. And she just puts a lot of work, you can tell, into making sure you get something that fits you how you want it. That's what I'm trying to say. So the yarn that I used was Holstgarn Supersoft, which is not super soft, by the way. Not even a little soft, really. Jamieson and Shetlands in Birch, Sunbeam, or I don't remember the pink color. And then there's a color called Buttermilk. Once again, long blonde hair on everything. And Nitpick's Salsa Heather is that kind of orangey pinky red color. And I picked colors that matched a dress that I made. I may have talked about it in the previous episode. It was like a William Morris Strawberry Thief fabric, and I made Sew Liberated Petrichor Pinafore to match. So, yeah. That's my cardigan. And yeah, these buttons, I don't know. My friend Alicia, bless her heart, got me some really beautiful buttons, but they're just slightly too big to go in these holes. So they're going to have to go in the next one. I'm going to have to figure out how to make room for them. Anyway, I love it. It's good. I'm happy. Will knit again. Highly recommend that you knit it. Just make sure you watch your gauge. Which you should be doing anyway, right? We all should be doing that. So the next thing I did, or I don't know, not the next thing, another thing I did, so Gudrun Johnston and my friend Alicia, who's Edmiston Creations, she's my friend in real life, so I don't just say my friend, you know, whatever, like we hang out and stuff. And then Colorado knitter, Mari, who has a channel here on YouTube as well. All three of them do. Did I just do 3 or did I say 4? Okay, that's actually 3. Anyway, they were doing a gratitude hap knit along, whatever. I'll include the hashtag below. But essentially, you make one of Gudrun's patterns, her shawl patterns, and Alicia published these little like gratitude topics, thinking points, exercises to help you cultivate gratitude into your daily knitting practice and just overall in general, like, you know, this time of year with the holidays and stuff, like just ways to take care of yourself. Yeah. So I participated in that, and I made Gudrun Johnston's hap shawl. And it is pretty much a blank canvas pattern. I mean, obviously there's cut and dry numbers and stuff, but I had handspun. This is handspun. This is a 2-ply. One of the plies is Hello Yarn Bee Eater, and I think that was on Finn or Targi. And the other one was Southern Cross Fibres, Who No Longer Dies, Promises, and that was Finn or Targi. One of them's Finn, one of them's Targi. And I applied those together and made this awesome yarn that I'm super pleased with. I don't know how well you can see. These hairs. Probably a good thing I cut my hair because I'm shedding everywhere. Anyway, I just kept going, and then at some point I stopped and I counted, and I realized I was almost twice the number of increases that I was supposed to do for the inner triangle. It's not a massively huge shawl. I think my gauge was weird, or it's supposed to be a lot smaller than it was, but I was happy with it. And I think that meant that I had to adjust the numbers for this and the amount of rows to make sure that I used up every inch of this yarn. Once again, my favorite thing to do. So it's really quite lovely. I'm really happy with it. I've worn it several times since I finished it. And oh gosh, these earrings, they're gonna kill me. I love it. It's great. Yeah, as I was saying before, the pattern is very like basic, and I think the elements were chosen so that it would be easy to adapt for different yarn weights, for different, I mean, the math was super easy to make sure that, you know, this lace fit in perfectly and whatnot. I don't remember what I did exactly. I may have put notes on Ravelry, I doubt it. But it didn't take much, and I'm not good at math, so it didn't take much, and I didn't feel stressed by it. I just kept going, which are like awesome projects for me. One of my favorite things to do. I think I've said that like twice already. Okay, it's a bit hot in here though, so I'm gonna take that off. Okay, I think that's all of my FOs. So let's talk about my whips. I'll start with the one that's stuck in the zipper. I usually like knitting projects I usually like knitting bags that are zippered, but maybe this is not a smart thing. I don't know. Maybe I just need to be more careful putting my things in this bag. So I think in October, I knit a pair of socks for my daughter using this color, which is Nomadic Knits, Nomadic Yarns. I never remember the name of this poor girl's yarn, but this is her Sirius color, based on Sirius Black, and she doesn't do Harry Potter colors anymore. So I'm using this up, get it out of the stash, and I don't have quite enough for a pair. I'll probably do a pair of socks worth, but I'm pairing it with just this gray to do the cuffs. And I'm only a little bit into the first one. This was when I started because we were driving about an hour away to go to the movies because we live pretty far from everything and whatever. And I like to go to movies. And I like to knit in movies. So this is the first sock. I'm about to the point where I will stick the heel in. I may go a little bit longer. I haven't decided. This is just 60 stitches in the round. I use size 0 DPNs. And I think that's just 2x2. Yeah, 2x2 rib. Very basic, boring. I didn't want any pattern on this. Which is kind of the socks that I've been wearing a lot lately. I do like pattern socks, but it just seems lately for the fit, especially with my Blundstones, like I need just plain socks because as I was talking about before, just on the arch of my foot, like the top of my foot, I have very like thin feet, and not super high arches, but since I broke my legs, like that part's just been super sensitive. So yeah, so I do plainer socks now, I guess. So that's my travel sock. This is another travel project that I've been working on. So this is part of that, getting my favorite sock books from 10, 20 years ago and finally buying them on thrift books. Part of that was this book called Folk Shawls by Cheryl Oberly. And I was introduced to this on this pattern. Somebody else made it. I think theirs was purple. I don't remember. But I've always been in love with this pattern called the Wool Peddler. And it's very basic, and it has very simple like lace, which if you've knit any lace whatsoever, you've probably made this or knit this lace pattern. It's very simple V, easy to maybe not memorize, I don't know. Yeah, but I've knit it before in other projects. I know I have, like in my course of knitting. Not difficult at all. However, when I got to that point, something just like the math wasn't mathing. And I'm at a part of my life where if I'm even the least bit frustrated, I'm like a toddler. I have the patience of nothing. Like, it's ridiculous. So I just decided, well, I'll just knit a garter, just a plain garter triangle, because that works too, you know, whatever. Sometimes I like kind of minimalist pieces to work with more patterned things that I wear, or just solids either. So there's also a variation of this that another knitter did that also got my attention, like when this like came out, like maybe not that long ago, but early in my Ravelry days. Another knitter made it, and instead of putting the lace at the bottom, she just increased ever so slightly so that it made a ruffle, but not like a frilly ruffle, just a very, it's almost like you change gauge. It's just a very subtle, like, undulation. And I thought that was great. But if I did that, I wanted it to be in like a charcoal or a black, and I just don't have that yarn, and I am not buying yarn right now. So I just went with garter. Anyway, that modification is like, if you look up this pattern on Ravelry, it's pretty easy to find that in other people's, I don't know, other people's projects. So Cheryl Oberly, folk shawls. One of these days I'll make the original, and I'll probably make it in that original red too. The story behind that is, so these are like based on, I don't know, shawls of other cultures, and there's usually like a little historical, like, there's information as to why it fits in with whatever culture she's talking about. So this one comes from Victorian England. Apparently, back in the day, the wool peddlers in the marketplaces would wear red shawls so that they were easy to identify. So you could get your commerce done in a quick fashion. So anyway, so maybe I'll do historically a red one just because that'd be cute. But right now I'm doing a burgundy one. Have I even showed it to you yet? Oh my gosh, shown it to you? I am using this gorgeous, good, I'm not in the middle of a row. It's like an alpaca. No, it is an alpaca. It's a DK. I have, I think, 350 grams of it, and I'm just going to go until I run out. And it's a very basic, like, garter triangle with increases on the spine and on the outside. And I'll do a stretchy bind off of some sort. Haven't decided that yet. I am down to about 1.5 balls left. This is a local-ish yarn to me. I don't know if they're in Phoenix or just their company is called Phoenix Fiber Mill. Phoenix is not that close to me, but I got it in Santa Fe at a festival. We don't usually have a lot of festivals around me, but I went to Santa Fe. Yeah. Yeah, so it's just a DK alpaca. If I remember correctly, they don't usually do this, and they just had some and tried it at the mill. I'm not sure. That could have been a different yarn. I'm not sure, but it's really pretty. I'm enjoying it. And, you know, because the whole lace thing didn't work out, it means I get to use every inch. So there's probably all kinds of stuff in here. It's very clean yarn for, like, you know, sometimes if you buy local yarn, like, there's vegetable matter in it, you know, VM in it. But it's, as I say that, I just found a sticker, which might have been from one of my cats, actually. Anyway, this is the color, so that's kind of accurate. It's just a dark burgundy-ish, super dark red. And since I'm talking about project bags, I guess, so much, this is one that I made from fabrics from New Zealand. The first time second time I went. Yeah. Okay. My husband's from New Zealand. I don't just go to New Zealand for fun. I go to New Zealand for family and fun. Okay. Lots of stuff. So, the next project I'll talk about is another pair of socks I'm making. And the pattern is from this book by Sarah Clark. Clara Parks. Good Lord. Knitter's Book of Socks. There's, oh God. This is the Kensington by Nancy Bush. And when this book wasn't, I've had this for a while, but I had the ebook, and I don't like using ebooks or I don't like PDFs or anything for my, I prefer paper copies of my patterns. So I've had it for a while, but I haven't actually like worked on any of the projects until I got this from Thrift Books. Thrift Books. Does it say that on there? Yeah, it does. So Nancy Bush has written a lot of really cool historical knitting books. And, you know, I started knitting in this era of Interweave Knits magazine where it was just like this thing. It was just, knitting was so different. It was, you know, pre-Ravelry, but only just pre-Ravelry. Like, Ravelry was right around the corner. Knitting was just an interesting time. And Nancy Bush always had such elegant and just really cool historical information about her projects and whatever. So I'm always like attracted to Nancy Bush patterns. And so I cast this on. Of course, this book isn't quite that old, but you know, I'm still a fan. I'm fangirling over Nancy Bush is really what I'm doing. So this, it's going to be hard to see because I've actually recorded this a little bit before, and it's got this really cool, like, it's not twisted stitch. They're little mini cables, but they make kind of a grid on the diagonal all down the front of the foot, and then the back is another kind of little mini cable. It's kind of, I'm not helping by having yarn in the way. So once again, size zeros. They're going to be quite stunning. And they're enjoyable, but I haven't really wanted to drag a big old book around. And I'm not using PDFs, so picky. Anyway, remember when everybody had these things, and now nobody really does them so much anymore. And so I've started using mine, and they're like amazing. I made this one, but it doesn't have interfacing. But if you can find one with interfacing, try it with you use DPNs, and I think they are good for Magic Loop. I don't use Magic Loop, but they would work just fine. They're really quite handy, especially if you move your knitting around a lot like I do. Anyway, this yarn is West Yorkshire Spinners Bo Peep, which is like a baby yarn. It's a fingering weight yarn, and it's Falkland and nylon blend, which, while I'm trying to get rid of the nylon and any plastic in my stash, I wanted to try this. I just wanted to see, but it's still been around for a few years in my stash, so it's about time to use that. Anyway, all the colors are really soft, like pastel type colors, which is not my thing, but gray is. Yeah, so that's my next project. What is this? I'm not going to talk about the air mitts. I did frog those. Just super stressed about. I was so mad at myself. I'll do them again. Don't worry. Never fear, but okay, I don't know what's happening there, but so this is my next thing. I talked about everything there. So for this project, I watched an episode 1 of 2026. Her name is Sarah. Her YouTube is Vulgrin Makes. It's Walgren if you want to be all American English about it. But Sarah has just impeccable taste. She's always making beautiful things. And she started the Fettler scarf by Marie Wallen. I think it's from her book Shetland. I'm not sure. It's from one of her books that I really should have, but I don't. I need to get that book, I think. It's got the Yell cardigan, which I have a PDF of the Yell, but I kind of want the book. Anyway, I don't have the book. I didn't want to buy the PDF. It's essentially just a small Peries pattern on a round scarf. I'm like, I can do that because I have this beautiful book. So I'm just picking small motifs from this that divide easily into 120. And I'm working on, I think, size 0 needles, because why not do a fingering weight color work scarf with size 0 needles. Okay, it's coming off the needles here, sorry. So I'm just using little bits from leftover projects, including those air mitts that I talked about last time, and just picking whatever floats my boat. Kind of, oh, you can see the seam. I'm going to turn it this way so you don't see the seam. I'm joining as I go by spit splicing, which I learned from a Gudrun Johnston pattern several years ago, but she recommended it for garter stitch projects, and I just started doing it with color work too. So I have no ends to weave in as I go. I'm just stopping a few stitches short and splicing the next 2 colors in. I'm trying to keep it all mid-tone colors. There's not a lot of contrast. Obviously you can see there's not a lot of contrast. And I don't really like pastels usually, but I don't know. Something about this is appealing to me at this time. And you know, every now and then, like, I mess up, like I tried to like kind of frame each section and I accidentally changed the colors a row too soon, and I just like, instead of resplicing it, I just went with it. But I do like to have like a border of the same color separating each, if it happens that way. What is going on there? Just everything. So yeah, so once this gets to be about 5-6 feet long, then I'll be done. And I'm just grabbing colors as I feel like it. And I feel like this is a project, because when you wear a scarf and you wrap it, it kind of doesn't matter if I start with one color and then I run out and have to end with like a similar color. It's not that big of a deal, because the repeats are so far from each other. It's all squished up when you're wearing it anyway, and so it's kind of a perfect project for little leftovers. And yeah, you don't need really a pattern if you've got charts, or if you want to sit down and chart it yourself, knock yourself out. So I just have like a bag of kind of colors I wanted to use, and just grabbing them as I go. This bag is Fat Squirrel Fibers. I love Amy Beth's bags. She's fantastic. Yeah, so anyway, I'm really focusing in on working on my sustainable, smaller stash. Been quite committed to it, with the exception of a traveling yarn truck came to our town, which for them to come hours out of their way to our little town in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico, I was just so thrilled to have them here that I didn't mind supporting them. And I got some beautiful yarn and some fiber and some little gifts for my knitting friends. And I'll link them below. I'll link their Instagram below in case they come somewhere near you. They were a lovely team. And yeah, so that was only a tiny blip added to the stash. And yes, it had like nylon in it or whatever, acrylic of some sort, but yeah, it was sock yarn. I kind of don't begrudge a little bit of plastic in my sock yarn, because I do want my socks to last. It's not my favorite, but you know, what can you do? You can't always find mohair, I think. I don't like mohair either that much, but anyway, I don't want to get too yarn snobby or anything, but that is my focus. I prefer to have less but better. I know maybe that's kind of a hot take in the knitting thing. Like, I know, like, everybody should be able to afford to knit. I understand that. However, I don't have to knit to entertain myself. So when I do knit, I don't have a huge budget either. But I would like to be very discerning about what comes into my house, what is going into my water systems, what will be left over when I die. These are all very important things to me. And I'm not going to compromise because I'm very reluctant to compromise on these things anymore. It's very easy to be like, well, that's what everybody else is doing. That's what's available. That's what's cheapest. I would prefer to knit less with real wool. I'm okay with that. That's my decision. I'm getting there. I don't know. Just trying to be a good steward of this beautiful planet that we are setting on fire. Anyway, I think that's all I really have to talk about. Yeah, so you may notice that it looks a little bit better back there. I don't know. There's not like empty space yet. There's definitely not room for all the plans that I have to keep everything contained in this cabinet, and you might also wonder why I always open these doors. It's because the glass reflects on the ring light. I don't even wear my glasses because of the damn ring light, but yeah, you don't want to see just reflections behind me. Plus, it's kind of a good reminder as we go along where I start. I know, like, I move things around, so it's hard to keep it, like, I don't know, accurate in seeing the difference. And I've gone, like, since I started this podcast, the amount my stash has jumped. Actually, I don't even have it, like, written down, like, when I started, how much I had. That was fairly well into it before I started tracking that, but I don't know. I'm a visual person. I like to see it. I know a lot of people don't like to see a yarn shop behind their podcaster's, head, but I like it. I like having things to look at. I pay attention when I watch other podcasts. I wonder what happened to that other one, or that looks interesting. What's that? So I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just talking. I've just missed you guys so much. Yeah. I hope you guys are having a great, whatever you're having, a day, a weekend, an evening. I don't know. Thanks for joining me. I'm sorry if you've left a comment and I haven't answered, or anything. Sometimes I think I do. I'm sure you understand this. I think a lot of us are like this way, but I think I do and I don't, or I do it in my head and I don't type it, or I get distracted by something else. I think there's also a moment, like, when I first publish, it's easier for me to remember to check and to say something, or if I'm about to publish, sometimes I'll go back and I'll be like, oh, I didn't answer that. So from this point on, I'm going to try very hard to be current, keeping up with that. So on that note, please leave me anything down below, anything you want to tell me down below. I've missed all of you guys so much, and hopefully I can get this going again. And I don't know, I haven't stopped knitting, and I have a lot less stash now, so I'm hoping that motivates me to really get down into using this up. Yeah, that's it. I love you guys all so much. Take care. And if you need anything, just let me know, okay? Down below. Love you.